welcome to Innovative Strategies with Bill Haase. Today, we are talking all about how to turn adversity into advantage right here on Innovative Strategies. Bill, how you been? Good week?
Yeah, it's been an interesting week. Kind of like a roller coaster, but we're coming into the weekend and we're praying for rain. Our guest Gretchen today is down in Florida, and she's praying for it to stop raining. So just depends where you're at.
That's it. We could use it. Send it our way.
But yeah, we have a special guest today, Gretchen Skalka. Love having you come in and join us. Gretchen kind of teaches people how to turn adversity into your biggest advantage. And that intrigued me quite a bit. So welcome, Gretchen. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. So a little bit about me. I am a former journalist turned marketer. I was a marketing director for quite a while at a large multinational company. Built a whole team there, loved it. And just at one point, I realized that chapter was done. I couldn't tell you what the next chapter was, but I knew I was done there. And about 6 months later, I opened my company. And a lot of what I do, I work with a lot of people who have a career challenge. Most people come to me for a career challenge. I've been doing coaching since 2009 in the career space. But what invariably happens is that their challenge is, as most things are, connected to every other touch point in their life. And so what I help them do is understand the opportunity in that event, whatever it is. And sometimes it's an event going on just with them. Sometimes it's an external event that is impacting them. But I help them break it down and see the opportunity, the gift and the opportunity in that struggle. And part of the reason that I'm able to do that is because I've been through a lot of things that forced me to do that, forced me to learn how to do that. And I've been studying it for a few years. And yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, if you haven't been through adversity in your life, you haven't been living on this planet,
right?
And you are certainly not human. I think everybody goes through adversity at all stages of life, and I don't know that you can get sometimes even through a day without some sort of adversity. But I love the idea of but actually turning that into an advantage. Because typically when we're going through adverse times, we're frustrated, we're not thinking clearly, we're more in a defensive mode, and that puts us in a position where we're not thinking clearly.
Yes.
We're not, because especially somebody like me who loves a good argument, and I don't mind being in a bad mood, and I don't mind going after you. But you gotta step back and take a look at that helicopter view from 30,000 feet instead of being in a hole.
It's sort of, it really is developing self-command. I mean, really. And so that when you're in that moment, you don't have that initial automatic default autopilot behavior that we all have. It's just the nature of how we're wired as human beings to skew negative, because again, this isn't anything I've created. It's just the old survival brain in action. We're wired to look for danger, even if it's perceived danger or threat, because that was such a function of our survival for so long. I mean, so many other species died out, but we're still here. And there's a reason for that. It's a protective mechanism. But on the other side of that, is where we want to get to. But we default there because it's what we know. It's the corners of our brain that are familiar to us. And so we go there. But when we can, and it's a practice, it's not something you're like, I know that everything is so quick now. It's like 10 ways to do this, 6-minute abs and all this kind of stuff. But really what it is, it's a practice. And the more you do it, like anything else, the more you're able to call it up and put that into practice in your life. And that's where you're able to, even in the worst of things, like I've mentioned, and it's the one thing that people always zone in on, although it's hardly the worst thing that ever happened. But when the house blew up in 2018, that was sort of the tail end of 4 collapsed schedule time frame years of back-to-back just stuff. And by that point, I had learned to take that moment, take that mental pause and go, wait a minute. It's not as bad as I think it. I mean, our house blew up. We were home when it happened. So being able to step back from that before you even know you're about to enter 2 years of homelessness while you have to sue the insurance company, while you have to move constantly because you have nothing, although you still have to pay mortgage on a house you can't live in.
Mhm.
While you
Wow.
do that, to have the presence of mind to say, "Wait a minute, let's be really clear about what did and did not just happen." And you can go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit more adversity than I think I would want to endure. Um, having my home blow up.
Yep.
But we get comfortable though. We get comfortable in excuse me, putting up our walls and just
Yep.
saying, nope, not letting anything through. Um, this is the way I am. This is who I am. You take it or leave it. Whether you like it or not, who cares?
Yeah.
We do get into those positions, and sometimes, and quite honestly, sometimes it's kind of fun. Um, but but the reality is you got to snap out of it at some point, and really look at the true picture, the general picture, and take stock and work on how do I move forward from this.
Yeah.
And
And it's not to say that bad things aren't going to happen. They do. And
oh
there
yeah,
are times where you're just going to have every button pushed. And it's a matter of, sort of calling forth that self-command, being able to intercept those behaviors before you do or say the thing you may not be able to recover from. And that's really important, especially in the world of work. And
it
I've
does
seen that.
happen.
Yes, yes.
It does happen. And I've been there many, many, many years ago, but the classic Christmas party, whoopsie. But it's you're right. Life happens. I'm in the world of life happens. And if it can throw a curveball at you when you're looking for a fastball, it will. Um,
Absolutely.
all the years in the trading pits, one thing we learned was which direction is the market going to go? It's going to
Yeah.
go in the direction that creates the greatest amount of pain. It always does.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how life can go.
Mm-hmm.
Can't you look like you want to chime in?
Yeah. So there's the old saying, right? Is expect the best and plan for the worst, right?
Yeah.
And
Hope for the best.
a lot of times, the hardest thing that I'll speak for myself as an American is understanding mindfulness, right? So
Mhm.
I like what Gretchen says, like, oh, I had to step back, take a deep breath, and go, okay, right now in the moment, what just happened? But so many times we're over our skis, right? We're looking at the next 3 dominoes that we think are going to fall and in which direction they're going to fall.
Mhm.
How do you work with people, Gretchen, to get in that adversity to just go, okay, like you did? That's a very hard thing for people to do, to take a deep breath.
I think
It is. And it's one of the biggest challenge uh, for that really to get started is having people understand you won't take that deep breath the first time it happens. You probably won't be able to take that deep breath, that pause, the 20th time it happens. It is a learned practice thing. And so by the time that happened, I had already been through, it was just an odd, but again, it changed my life, that just the number of things that happened in that 4-year period from 2014 to 2018. And so the trick with mindfulness for me, the ingredient that I always try to make sure that like my clients don't forget is the non-judgment piece. You want to stay present in the moment, but without judgment. So without attaching those narratives, those stories, those what ifs to to what just happened. So, when something bad happens, when you get news you don't expect, when, if your company sells off half the company and you get the word that your position is now being eliminated, your brain will immediately want to go to the worst case scenario. I'm going to be on the street, destitute, can't pay my bills, I'm going to lose my house, all those kind of things. So instead of doing that, take that moment. Those are judgment calls. You're making a judgment about what could happen without knowing even where you are in that moment. And so to get your footing, you have to know where you are in that moment, not a future moment that may never happen. And it's okay to have that thought and be like aware, but being aware and being preoccupied with it and focused on it are two very different things. And so when you can plan for where you know you are, what that situation is right now, you can get really firm footing to take that first step. And
And
that helps you. Yeah.
I got so many different directions to go with that. Planning. We talk a lot about planning on the show every week, and but let's first point out that most people don't plan unless
Yes.
it's vacation.
Yeah.
You mentioned judgment. It is impossible, I think, for all people to bypass judgment. We just love to judge, and right or wrong, we love to judge. But so let's keep this in the capacity of, let's say, a small business minded person. For me, one of the things that has helped me better control my actions, and I only learned this of late, and I'm old, is keep the eye on the prize kind of a thing. It's like, what are you trying to accomplish? And is what you want to say versus what you should say beneficial to achieving what you're hoping to achieve? You know, because we all have things we'd like to say to people that, you know, probably wouldn't be in the best interest of or conducive to getting what you want.
And so right there, you're doing that work. You're doing it by doing those things. You're asking yourself the pertinent questions. You know, what is it that I'm looking to achieve? What is my goal here? It's the same thing. It's just different language, but it's the same. You're doing it. So that's that presence of mind to say, you know, I want to say X, Y, and Z, but I'm going to say A, B, and C, or I'm just going to hold it within until the moment passes. But that's self-command. That's also being able to coach yourself through the what ifs. You know, how are these things going to impact my goal? Because that's where I want to get to. So what do I need to do to make sure I get there?
You know, unfortunately, I didn't have somebody like you. It took me 60 years to figure it out on my own. And then you still have to have the ability to control, you know, to control what you're doing, because it's easy to say what you want to say without thinking. You know, we've all done it, and then we've all paid the price for that.
Yeah.
Right. It's again, you know, I've gone through a series of negotiations over the past year, and it's about keeping your eye on the prize. Is what are you trying to accomplish? Not what is it you want to say, not what it is you wish you could say.
Right.
It's like, okay, what can my response be that brings me a step closer instead of a step further away from what I'm looking to acquire?
So smart and so on point with that in every way. Because again, when you're dealing it with work, partnerships of any kind, how you go through anything determines how things will be on the other side of that thing. So if it's a hardship in your business or an adversity or something that you're dealing with, you have to understand that there's a collective experience there. It's not just you. Your experience is unique to you, and your perspective on it is unique to you, but it's a shared experience that you're still going to have with someone or a group of another group of people. And so how you get through that and navigate that together and including each other in that is very important, because you've probably been through partnerships or seen them happen where, you know, you sort of feel like you're going through, but you're not really communicating, and you're not letting the other person in to help you. You're not asking for help from them and kind of navigating those waters together. So you get to the other side of it where whatever it is over. One person probably feels like they steered the ship and did all the work, and the other was just kind of like there in the wake going along with it, not really a part of it. That partnership will never be as strong. And so those things are really important. So yeah, you hit on the exact thing, and you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and partnerships are a funky thing, right? And they're like any other relationships, right? They have their best of times and not so best of times.
Yes.
You know, yeah, but it's still challenging to even those of us who feel we have learned and gained better control of our thoughts and our words and our actions. Life still challenges us.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean,
absolutely.
You know,
the goal is not to have life not challenge you, because it always will, and it should. I think that's the nature of life. so the goal can never be to have it not be a challenge. That's just not a realistic goal.
Well, that would be a
Life,
boring life,
right? Yeah.
You know,
Life will always come in and do that. The thing there is, how do you deal with those challenges and how do you get through them? And, it's very easy to, in the moment, catastrophize everything, take the one thing and then extrapolate 20 other things that are also going to go wrong as a domino effect of that one thing happening. But on the other side of that, you can, as you said, begin to create a plan for yourself to get out of that thing. And that's what I did when, for everything that's happened, but to get us through that and all the way through mediation successfully, there was a plan that I created for myself, because I was like, we're not doing this like forever. So, yeah.
Well, don't blow up any more homes. But
right, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. It was a power line. Yeah.
I was speaking to my old fraternity brother. Never mind. But you point out, I mean, perspectives, right? You have perspective, and those around you have a different perspective, even on the same subject, topic, whatever. And you have to give grace for that. You have to, because one thing we learn as we get older is all the BS we've been given and fed growing up, whether it's news, whether it's commercials, whether it's all kinds of things, whether even stuff at the grocery store. I mean, we get fed BS right and left, and it's all about picking pockets, and it's all about money.
That's so true. Yeah.
But it's perspective is an interesting thing, and we have to allow for others to have their own perspective. We have to allow, because they're no more or less right or wrong than you are with your perspective.
And I think that's a really critical thing, because everyone's perspective is going to be different, just because our experiences in the world are different. And so everyone's going to come away from something with a little different understanding of it. When I have a workshop that I do, and I start it by talking about that very thing. We talk about, I don't know if you remember, like the big dress controversy of like 2015, that was it gold? Was it black? Was it blue? And people like really were at odds with each other online over the color of this dress because the lighting was different. Yep. But there's the subtle question that I'll ask people is, have you ever texted someone who took a little bit to get back to you, or maybe they never got back to you? And did you at any point wonder, are you mad at me?
Absolutely.
Are you mad? Like, did I say? And that's a judgment
going through
call.
That now.
Exactly. And that's a judgment call. That's your brain trying to create a narrative, because what our brains do, they're sort of like, it's like this little difference engine. If this didn't happen, that happened. And so I need to try to understand something I don't have information to understand. So I'm going to create a narrative, a little scenario that I think might be what happened. Doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just a perspective thing. It's like if you're in a meeting with someone and you're giving a presentation, and it's a really important meeting, and you see somebody all of a sudden engage with their phone. They're on their phone. And your immediate thought is probably rude, like, I'm speaking here. But what if it was a 911 call text from their child's school? Yeah. Would that change your perspective about that activity? So again, that assuming facts not in evidence, we all do it. And so it's a matter of, this is where that
Ken wants to chime in.
Yeah. So every Friday morning, I get together with a group of guys from church, and we have coffee, right? We've been doing it for years. And today, one of the guys walks in, orders the coffee, and walks right out. He had left something, at his vehicle. And without saying a word, he walks in, orders the coffee, grabs a coffee, walks out. And a couple of the guys, and these are grown, right? These are not kids. Right. These are retired guys and close to that age. And one of them goes, what did we do? Did we irritate him? Do your point.
Because we have to. Because we can't help it.
Yeah.
We cannot help ourselves from coming to a conclusion that I guarantee you is 99.99999% wrong.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody does it. And it's that moment where, you're naturally going to do that. And so while you still do that, you'll at some point, and you probably already do this, bring in a sub thought of saying, nah, there's probably something going on I don't know about. And you just dismiss it after a while.
You know what, though? even with spouses, let's say, okay,
Yeah.
my wife's not talking to me. What'd I do?
Right.
What did I do wrong? And I'm thinking, what could I have done wrong? What could I have done wrong?
Yeah.
Is it something I forgot to do? Something I did?
Right.
Uh,
Well,
it-
you're a husband. More than likely, it's something you forgot to do.
well, no, that would have probably meant I was told to do something
That's
and
right.
forgot to do it.
That's
But yeah, no, but we come to conclusions very quickly, very easily.
Yeah.
We believe them.
Yes.
And that's the really what makes it hard, right? When you
Mhm.
can't change values, morals, beliefs.
Yeah.
Um,
Of course, if you want to know more information about what Gretchen does, visit careerinsightsconsulting.com. That's
It's a mouthful.
careerinsightsconsulting.com.
Insights with an S
Yep, more than one.
on the end.
Yep. So, which is great, and it's an awesome. Let me pull it up. It's a really awesome website. Right, what I'm showing right there is, there's 6 things. It caught my eye to improve your mindset. So they give you some nice little freebie stuff, but this is so cool. Talks about love. RAM fitness is the answer.
Ram, yep.
Yeah, I mean, Gretchen and I have had the privilege, and I've had the privilege and pleasure of speaking with her on a number of occasions, and
Mhm.
this is really, I love this topic because this is a lot about how to deal with adversity in your life and how to turn it away from stress
Yeah.
and more into an advantage,
Yep.
as you point out, and it's an art to learn. It takes you have to practice, kind of like
Mhm.
anything else. You want to play good golf, you got to play a lot of golf, so you got to
Mhm.
practice a lot. But it is a mindset shift to some extent.
Yes.
Mhm.
But I have felt better in that change that I've made over the past year and a half, I'd say. And yet I'm still challenged all the time.
Yeah. Everybody is. And it will continue to happen. The challenges of life aren't going to go away. It's how you respond to them. And that's actually what, RAM really is just my way of saying we all live at the top of the results pyramid, where the R is the results or the reality that we live. And that is a product of the actions that we take. And we take those actions based on the mindset that we have about what we believe to be right, real, true, possible for us in that moment, in that scenario, in that job, in that business, in any environment. We take action or we don't based on that.
Oh,
And
let's go down
so,
another road then. Let's go down another road. So in the moment, and there's an issue there because some moments we're not feeling too good. Sometimes we're feeling great. Sometimes we're upset about
Yeah,
something.
So let's say you wake up and you're just irritated. Nothing's
Yeah.
really happened, right? I mean, it's just the energy that you
Yeah,
wake
sun
up
came up. I got to get my butt out of bed.
and you're
And I'm tired.
irritated. How do you deal with that, Gretchen? Because nothing has really happened. Your feet haven't even hit the floor, but you're just like, ugh, today I'm irritated.
yeah, that's going to happen. So it's a matter of helping yourself think through those things. And again, it's also not to say that every time you're going to be able to do it. That's why it's a practice like anything else.
Mhm.
So you really want to be able to check in with yourself and get real with yourself. And if you wake up and you're just ticked off, you're not in a happy mood, level set yourself. Ask yourself a couple of key questions. What happened? Why am I angry? Am I really upset about whatever? Like, I'll have to do that all the time. There's those little decisions you make in the beginning of the day can have a great cascade of wonderful or a domino effect of yuck behind them. And so you really have to take the responsibility on yourself to ask yourself those questions. Dive right into your own authority over your own life. Why am I really upset? What is stressing me out? What am I worried about? And really identify why it is that you're in a bad mood. Because if you're not sure, it could just be that, it's sort of this gray nebulous thing and you're not sure. Maybe you just didn't get quality sleep, and that's okay. So maybe you just need to do like, physical priming or something, where you're just, you do some move around, exercise, whatever. but to jog yourself out of that. But it's going to be a progressive thing that you do. And over time, it does get easier to do it. But there's nobody who's going to master command of every single moment. But when you have the ones that you can't master, that you're like, well, I didn't come through that right, or I'm still angry, I'm still frustrated with the day, and I don't know why. And that's okay, because what you do is you recall that one and you say, okay, that didn't go the way I wanted it to. What could I have done differently? And again, it's that personal accountability that we all have to take ownership. Be the CEO of your own life. Don't leave it up to somebody else to do that for you. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, but there's this time, and we're learning a lesson, right? Is really what we're going through is learning a life lesson, and none of us take that real well. But
right.
Get used to failure, folks, because it happens to all of us all the time. But there's those days where I get out of bed, I'm feeling pissy, and you know what? I don't want to change it. I'm fine with that.
That's grumpy old men.
I have those times, and I'm just like, okay, it's okay to be pissed off about something, for a little while. I mean, you'll get over it. Try not to harm anybody else in the way, but you're allowed to have feelings, right? You're allowed to express feelings and stuff. We're not saying that you can't do that. What we're saying is there's a level of maturity involved, and again, keep in mind, what is it you're trying to accomplish?
Yes. And I think too, in those instances, you can't deny that those things are going to happen. They are absolutely going to fundamentally be a part of your day. Every day is going to be filled with collections of moments that are not going to go the way you want. And so it really is a matter of identifying those and understanding, like you've said, what is the goal, the overall goal for the day, my life, my job, whatever it is. What am I tracking to? And how is this going to impact that? So for example, if I wake up in a bad mood, I really do, not just for me, but for everybody else who shares the household with me and everybody else who I'm going to work with that day, it's in my best interest to get a firm handle on myself so that I don't do or say something out of a moment that I feel I'm entitled to, but they're just there for the ride. Like they didn't buy a ticket to that show. And so I have to check myself on that and understand that, I might be taking people for a ride they didn't sign up for. And I have to be really careful with that. And I say, I've watched people tank their whole career in a moment.
Yeah.
And I certainly have had those moments. I had a very famous one with my boss, who was a CMO at the time, and it was a lovely individual, but he caught me on a bad day. He asked me a question that it was like wind shear. It just came off the wrong way. And I responded very sharply, like, what do you want? And he would have had every right to say, you know what? I think I want you to go to HR and leave the company. He didn't do that. He showed me grace that I didn't show him. And I really appreciate it. I've never, ever, ever forgotten that, because in that moment, you can do or say something that somebody else who isn't read into your personal situation, they may not know how to recover from it. And then everything kind of blows up from there.
I pulled that off when I was young down in the trading pits, and I was in an office at the time. And after a while, after a year, I didn't get what I felt was an appropriate bonus for the work we did and how much money was made. And they said, you're not happy. And I said, yeah, I'm leaving. And they're just like, do you understand the opportunity you have here? And he said, and you're making money. And I said, I could make more money selling balloons on the street corner than what I'm making here right now. So that doesn't hold water. And I was gone. And I was out of there. But you said, oh gosh, now the word slipped my mind. It was, it'll come back.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the founders of DDOE, Ron Hostery, wrote a book, and it's right up over your shoulder, but I did not plan that. Make life work when plans don't. Right. And so many I think that's something that we aren't taught necessarily, here in America anyway, is that life is tough. And a lot of times it's just like,
we're sheltered.
Tamp it down, push it down,
we're
move
pampered.
through it, leave, you know what I mean? Run from it, do whatever. But inevitably, I mean, with what you had happened to you and your home, Gretchen, was every reason to throw in the towel and be like, you got to be what? You know, if it wasn't for bad luck, you know, I was born under a bad sign, that old blues song, right?
It's so true. And going back to what you and Bill were saying about perspective, because there was one night some friends of my husband's had found us a place to stay for 3 months. And so for 3 months, we were in this apartment in Jupiter, Florida. And there was one night where I had a panic attack. I thought I was having a heart attack. I didn't know what was going on. I'd never had a panic attack before, but I was. And I look over and my husband is sleeping like a baby. And I'm like, how is he sleeping like a baby? And I feel like I'm dying. And I don't get this. And that's perspective. No two people are going to respond to the exact same thing in the exact same way. And that was really an eye opener for me, because I was like, okay, well, if he can do that, what do I need to do? And again, it goes back to exactly what you're saying. You're going to have crummy times. There are going to be things that are going to happen that aren't going to be fair. You can't control what happens. You can't change it. Now you have to figure out and navigate through it. You got to get through it. Sometimes you can't go over it, around it. You got to get through it sometimes.
Well, you either got to go around it, over it, or through it, right?
Right. And for
you got to get past it.
You do. And I actually think that what you did about that job was probably not a rash decision. That was one where you had sort of calculated in your mind, like, what is fair, what is appropriate. That I don't think was a snap decision. It was probably something that you had thought about. If this comes to pass and I don't get the number that I think, I have to make an adjustment. That's okay. It's the ones that are like those snap, they're already frustrated. They're already like tensed up, and just one little thing is like that straw that broke the camel's back. And those are the things that you can't get back. And those are the relationship killers. And we always, we tend to, it makes our internal judge that much worse. You should have known, you shouldn't have done this, for like weeks and months after the fact, when you can save yourself all of that. But it is a learned thing.
To me, that's maturity. You know, how mature are you? And that plays a big role. I want to step back a little bit, because you said entitled. So you said, you can't say what you feel you're entitled to say. Mm-hmm. And that's, to me, that really rung a bell, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're going to find ourselves in situations where we believe we're entitled to say what we feel, and then we're taught, go ahead, get your feelings out, because you need to get your feelings out. You can't hold it in. It's not healthy. It's not good for you. But here, what we're saying is even though you may feel entitled to say this, it doesn't mean you can't. But the problem you can run into is feeling entitled to say something can get you in a lot of trouble, because it's probably based on misinformation.
Yes. Not only that, misinformation, miscommunication, misconception, but also read the room. There are times where everybody has a right to feel their feelings and all that kind of stuff. I'm never going to tell you not to, but understand when it's appropriate to express that and when it's not. And that's really important. If that weren't the case, then you would have most frustration comes from, or not most, but let's say a lot of frustration, especially in a business owner, is going to come from a lack of information or a lack of knowledge, and therein lies frustration. I don't know how to do this because I don't have that. I can't do that because I don't have the information that I need to make that successful. Even though I know what to do, if I don't have the information, I can't do it, and that gets frustrating. It does. But you do something that's really important that a lot of people, I think, could do better. I could do it better, which is networking, to find the people who do know, who can help you, could be mentors and that kind of thing. I mean, again, if your mindset is, I don't have the information, but I know I can make that work. I know I'm going to be successful at this. What are you going to do? You're going to take action to find people, to put yourself in environments where they just are, so that you might meet them. You might be able to have a conversation with them. That's an action you're taking based on a mindset that you believe something is possible for you. If you don't, if you get to a point where you're just like, well, it's never going to work out for me, then you're not going to do those things, and you won't meet the Bills of the world who can, who are like really great at conversation and have some great ideas and know a lot of things. And, those that matters. That's how you change the results you get.
And
And
I
you can
love
do
that you
that.
bring in the networking aspect to that, because that is important. And there's a difference in networking, right? If you're just doing it to sell your wares, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You're never going to gain anything. You're not going to get sales. You're not going to get help. You're not going to get support. It just won't work. If you're in the same networking groups that have been together for years and nobody's buying or selling from each other, or but you love each other and you want to get together every week, that's fine. But if you're trying to do it for business, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Because you kind of work your way up the levels of networking. And and trust me, folks, there are all kinds of levels, and that include all the way up to including global networking groups that are incredible. But that is so important, but you kind of have to see it in yourself, though, right? In order to be seeking out the help.
Yeah.
Or maybe, like a conversation like we're having here today helps click in someone's mind that, this is the kind of thing I need help on. And, I mean, we're all a work in progress. Every one of us is a work in progress.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, we each have different talents that we can share, or we can choose to hold over others, which we do that a lot. Right?
Absolutely.
He's so smart. Well, yeah, he's smart, but he's smart about this one thing. It's not like he's all knowing or something.
Oh, exactly. Don't put me in charge of a financial spreadsheet, because that's not my thing. I will be horrible at that. I'm very clear on what I'm really not good at, and I'm pretty clear on what I'm good at. But I think most people are. The challenge there is again, like you were saying, know where your zone of genius is. Something that we all talk about a lot. And there's a zone of complacency too, where you're really good at this thing and you're comfortable there, and let's stay there. But when you stretch, and you have those that stretch goal, if you want to call it that, and you're not quite sure how to get there, that's when you kind of go outside yourself and you start to look for those things that can help you, whether it's a theory, a practice, a person, a place, whatever it is. You start to seek those things out, that then you can begin to get the knowledge, meet the people, get the understanding, a new perspective, all those things that can help eventually bring that other thing into focus for you and into your reality. And that's important. It's also important to remember, like, the patience part of that, because it's a practice that, all this stuff, I mean, some things, you can achieve great things in 6 weeks, 12 weeks, all that. But anything that has is appended with a guaranteed timetable, I'm wary of those, because my timetable is different for doing the same thing that yours would be. So if it worked for you in 10 weeks, Bill, it might take me 50, And so you have to be aware of that. Those things there's no getting around having to work for what you want. There's just not. And if what you want is,
you mean there's no easy way out?
No, there's no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know, right? There's no easy way out. There's no guaranteed anything. There's no getting around the fact that you got to work for what you want. And if what you want is whatever it is, if it's more time, more money, more peace, more any of those things, you got to work for that. You got to practice what you know, learn what you don't, trial and error, right? Throw out the stuff that's not working for you. A lot of people keep that stuff because they have sentimental attachment to it.
Yeah.
Whether it's a practice, a person, or whatever. If it's not working for you and getting you closer to your goal, you really have to take a hard look at what function does it serve in your life.
I will add to that if you don't take time to step back and say, okay, what are the things I'm doing that I feel are right? What are the things I feel that I'm doing are wrong? Because we never think we're doing anything wrong. And that's because we have these little ego thing going on inside our own minds, and we all have it. But yeah, it's a challenge for anyone to have a mind shift and change that mindset. We've had a number of shows of recent about this kind of subject, having the right mindset. And for small, medium-sized business folks. This is just part of the job. This is
Yeah.
really an important part of the job. And this is what the show for 3 years, we've been trying to teach you all the different angles and aspects of building a business and from concept to success. And, it's, if we had to write down a list of everything, I think we're at like, what, 130 or something, Kent? I don't know. It's there. I mean, that many different things that you need to think about. And we're not good at 130 things.
Right.
We need help.
Yep.
And so if we put things in perspective, like we were saying, and unfortunately, many generations have been taught to not seek help because it reflects as a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
And a sign of weakness. Well, I can't have a weak person around me.
Right.
I'm not going to be associated with that person. They're weak. Like,
right.
Seriously. I mean, come on, folks. There comes the judgment, right? So now we're bringing all these little words back, and then maybe I feel entitled to say them all, but just to keep bringing the words back in. But yeah, it's a challenge in finding people and good people that you can connect with that can help you with some of the things you need. That's important. And if you aren't seeking that out and you think you know everything, my guess is you probably won't be running that business for very much longer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no one person obviously knows everything, but also, greatness comes in understanding where other people are stronger than you. One of the best things that I think any leader can do is surround themselves with people who are just better than you at whatever it is that you do or want to do. Every person I ever hired when I built and ran the content and creative services team at TBC Corporation was better than me. Every single person. It made succession planning very, very effective. It made everything very effective. And so
there you go, talking planning again. So we don't do that. So, but here's the important aspect to that. And the very important factor to that is not only hire people that are better, but let them do what they do best.
Yes.
You stick to your lane, do what you do best, let them do what they do best.
Yes.
Because somebody might be book smart, somebody might be street smart, somebody might be more corporate smart, somebody, and each person can bring something very valuable to the playing game and to the table.
Right.
And you have to let them do that, because we have a lot of micromanaging going on too, right?
Yeah, that's a mindset too. The micromanager is somebody who, basically has that sort of, limited outlook mindset, and they are very worried. That's a worried person. That's also somebody who is probably, a behavioral characteristic of someone who is, you could say controlling, yes, but that hyperachiever kind of mentality where, that sounds good. I'm a hyperachiever, but the hyperachiever mentality is like very facade, is very like, I'm going to show you what I think is what you want to see, all the good, for all the external people, but inward, I'm extremely conflicted. And the other side of that is that they're usually external focused. Like what you see is what you get. You're never going to get too close to that personality. However, if they can go inside and really look and bring out what's good, they're natural. They really are naturally good leaders. They can bring out the best in other people. But usually that behavioral type is to focused on the external appearance, that they never do that. And that's why they get a bad rap. If they could just
it's been my experience that people like that are it's kind of based on two things, fear and lack of information or knowledge.
Yes. Yes.
Especially a business owner, I've run into so many that the only sheet they know, their financial sheet that they know, is the one that says, here's where I started, here's what I spent, here's what I made, and here's what's left over.
Yeah.
But they don't know the management sheets. They don't know all the other sheets. Like, where are my assets? Where is my money? How is it working for me? What is this costing me versus, what am I getting back for that?
Absolutely. And you can't plan from there. You can't scale anything from a day to day,
you can't make good decisions.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually, because as folks know, our mission statement, right? Mission statement is we provide knowledge. Knowledge gives you options. Options gives you freedom. So if you're purposely reducing your either your knowledge or your ability opportunities, because you have fewer choices that you can make, the more apt you're going to make the wrong choice, right? And there's often times where maybe you only have 2 or 3 choices and none of them are good. So it's, look at us when we go to the voting polls. It's like we vote for the lesser of the 2 evils nowadays.
Yeah.
Right.
Not for the person that we believe in.
Yeah.
These are mindsets that we have, and we very strongly believe in them. We hold them very tight.
Yep. They become part of our identity. I mean, they really are our identity.
Yeah.
I mean, the mindset is the sort of collection of not necessarily spiritual beliefs, but the beliefs that you have about anything. What you tell yourself over and over again, anything you tell yourself over and over again, you're going to believe. It's going to become a belief that you have about whatever it is. Here in Florida, where it's rained every single afternoon. I know we started the show talking about, you guys need rain and we have too much of it. Every single afternoon, we're in that weather pattern. And so my belief is that every day is going to end in a soggy mess. And that's a very benign example of that. But I've experienced it over and over enough that I believe it to be true. However, at some point, as the world works, it's not going to happen. It'll be a sunny evening. It'll be a pleasant, dry evening. Those things. And again, that, like I said, that's benign. But if you extrapolate that and kind of grow that into some of the bigger things people tell themselves, it's always going to be this way. It's always going to be that way. No, it's not. Nothing's always going to be anyway. Everything always changes. And again, that's why, and it's, you can't get around it. Crappy things are going to happen. So will the good things. I mean, the year that my house blew up, it's very easy to focus on that and forget the fact that was September 12th, 2018. But in June, I went to Prague, Vienna, and Budapest with Chris and Steve, and we had a great time. So it's like, yay, that was awesome. Who knew that was going to happen a few months down the road? And then when that happened, I was like, okay, well, one of the first things I did, and it's going to sound weird, was I was like, I'm going to keep going. I do a gratitude project every year. And so I had one that year. And my first thought was, well, I can't do it because it was all computer based. It was a digital file that I was releasing every day. My computer was plugged in when the line fell and poof, it was gone. So how was I going to do that? And then I remembered I had actually pre-planned a lot of it using an app called Later. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to keep going with it. And then as I did that, and more things happened that I would have missed them if my mind was focused on all the stuff I didn't have anymore, which was everything, instead of all the stuff that I could have, which actually was a lot. And I will say my boss at the time, the CMO, wonderful guy who a few years earlier I had been like very flippant with him. He's also the one who called me and he was like, when do you think you're going to be able to come back in? And I was like, don't you know what happened? I don't even know where I'm going to live. And I don't know what's going on. He goes, no, you need to talk to the company lawyer. We got to get you a lawyer. You need a lawyer. And I was like, oh no, everybody's being really good. This was like about maybe 6 days after it happened. Everybody's doing really good. I feel like everybody's really, really doing what they need to do. He goes, no, they're not. Stop thinking that way. We're going to get you a lawyer. And if he hadn't had the presence of mind and the thought to help with that, I may not have been introduced to the right people who I knew I could create that survival plan with and get myself through to the other side of a 7-hour mediation they were only going to give us 2 for, and get a new house. So again, that's a mindset. If you're focused on one thing, if you focus on problems, you guarantee yourself more problems. You will grow those problems beautifully, but they're still going to be there. So focus on the opportunity that's inside the problem, because there are opportunities in everything.
Of course, to learn more about what Gretchen does, visit careerinsightsconsulting.com. Now, for all of our listeners out there who don't own a business, this is still incredible information and a program that you can absolutely take advantage of. It doesn't have to be career oriented. So if you're a stay-at-home dad, if you're, whatever the case may be, you're an entrepreneur, whatever, and you're not chasing a quote unquote career, you still got to go here because it's a process. You have
life.
You have a program. It's about a 12-week program, if I'm understanding it correctly, to help create the changes, to help create this mindset. This isn't a microwave, throw it in 15 seconds and your life is dandy, right? You have a legitimate program process that helps people.
I do. Yeah. And I chose 12 weeks because it's really that habit formation time frame. And so, RAM Fitness is basically, the RAM thinking, which is the module that I created, but it's also married up with the tenets of positive psychology and positive habit formation. So that when you can begin to activate the parts of your brain that are really geared toward problem solving, creativity, all those kind of things, all that prefrontal cortex goodness, you can get yourself off of the survival brainstem thinking and back into that. The survival brainstem thinking is always going to be there, but the 12-week program is really geared for helping you identify the things that are giving you the most challenge, because what gives you the most challenge is not what's going to give me the most challenge. Again, we're all as unique as our fingerprints. No two people have the same fingerprints. No two people are going to respond to the same event, challenge, or information the same way. So where something, will call up something for you that presents a challenge for me, I might sail right through it. So I have to understand what that is for you. What are the big things that are getting in your way that are kind of sabotaging your success? And then we work on what that looks like for you and how to plan for those and the techniques to think your way through those things when they're happening, little by little over time. And again, at the end of 12 weeks, you're going to have solid experience, practice doing this, because it's every day. I mean, it's actually many times throughout every day. And it is a very, very successful program. I've adapted it for my team, but I didn't come up with it. I mean, this was originated by Shazad Shameen and the folks at Positive Intelligence, but I did it myself. So I can tell you, like, what is it? He says, I'm not just a member, I'm a client, the old hair club for men thing.
Well, it's kind of like PT, it's kind of like physical therapy. You got to keep doing it.
Absolutely.
And keep doing it because here's and I like that it's 12 weeks because the problem most of us have, and we all are guilty of this, is we do like the idea of the change and we love that, we embrace it and everything, but 6 weeks down the road, 3 months down the road, maybe even up to a year down the road, we still go back to our old ways.
That's why dieting and other things, the main reason why
dieting was definitely what I was thinking about.
The main reason why those things don't come to a successful conclusion for most people is because of the implementation. So you can get the information. The information's already out there. You can Google your way to the perfect diet plan for your body type and your age and everything else. Just like everything else, the information's there, but it's the implementation. And along the way, if your goal is to change your way of thinking, you got to break that up into milestones, benchmarks, so that you hit a successful period and you can recognize that. If your goal is to lose 50 pounds and you lose 2, celebrate the 2. You did something to move the needle, but a lot of people don't do that critical thing. I'm celebrating today. And so when they don't do that critical thing, they don't realize that they have made incremental progress toward a larger goal. And so they get to that 6-week mark and they think, well, I haven't done anything. I haven't really lost anything. I mean, I have 2 pounds, whatever. And they quit or they try something else. They put their money in somebody else's. Yes.
Even the other side where, I've known a person to lose 100+ pounds, look phenomenal, get all new clothes and everything else. And a year later, it's back.
Yeah.
That 150 pounds. Or 2 years later, and that's how challenging life is, right? And then life's tough because we kind of tend to want to go back to the way we were most comfortable with, and we knew the most.
Yeah.
If any kind of shift you want to have in life takes work.
It does.
And part of the program, as I was reading and checking out online, is, and you said it just a few minutes ago, is we learn what our sabotage, how we sabotage ourselves. Yeah. But again, this is a phrase that we don't teach or talk about, right? We
do on this show.
And that's why I like that phrase is, because when it's sabotaged, man. But now I'm like, wait, I'm sabotaging myself. What is it that I'm doing?
It's an
Absolutely.
excuse. You're creating an excuse.
It's for me. So for me, I know one of my biggest personal saboteurs is I'm a people pleaser. And you hear people say, I'm just a people pleaser. That's actually not a good thing.
Right.
People pleasing is, and we know it's not, but why isn't it? Well, people pleasers are notoriously bad at advocating for themselves. So we're out there raising our hand to help everybody, mostly people who didn't ask for our help. And then we're doing and we're doing and we're doing. And then on the other side of that, we're like, well, they don't even know all the work I put into this. They're not even grateful that I did all this for them. Well, they didn't ask.
Right.
9 times out of 10, they didn't ask. So the pleaser mentality is, I have the burden of the world on my shoulders and I have to do this because it's an esteemable act, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It makes me feel better. And I'm a good person in the world because I can do all this for you. And you need me. That is sabotage, because you can ruin relationships that way. You'll have people who'll say, I like that you created that plan for me, but I was working on my own. I didn't ask for that.
Did you come on early and we're listening to Kent and my conversation? Because
No.
that was really what we were talking about.
Yeah.
No.
It's exactly what we were talking
that's
about.
exactly what we're talking about.
Especially the part about you can't help everybody, because not everybody wants to be helped,
Right.
and they don't care, or they think they know better. Or I was saying to Kent that I've grown frustrated of late trying to help people that clearly I'm trying to help people that don't want to be helped, because or you get the impression that those people don't think of you as somebody who can help them.
Yeah.
Or what do you know? Who are you? Well, yada yada yada. And it's like, man, all I'm trying to do is help.
Yeah.
And all I can think of are 4-letter words in my head without actually expressing them,
Right.
because I've learned to control that to some extent.
Kent is a 4-letter word.
Yeah, but right. So it's Bill.
Bill is.
But it's such a good point. You can't help those who don't want to be helped.
Well, I love it. We'll have to get you back, because we're getting close to the end of this. But I would love to, and maybe just spend that show talking about people sabotage. That sabotage muscle, I think you call it, which is also interesting to me, because I understand. Words have meanings, and you're like, wait a minute, I have flexed that muscle several times.
Yep. Yeah, our brains are
popper out of your head.
Yeah.
Our brains are the most important muscle to flex and grow. That's the, and a lot of times we kind of overlook it, but it's there to help.
That's funny. We have exercises for our body muscles, but and I love that you're bringing the mind exercises.
Mental fitness training, RAM thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, take a look at the web page, career, finances. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It rolls right into innovative strategies, parenting, creativity, relationships, happiness, well-being, leadership. Not all career focused, right? But good life. I mean, what you're doing is amazing.
It's not just happy wife, happy life. There's more to it.
Yeah, you can't think your way out of stress. There's just so many great things that you're doing at Career Insights Consulting that people just check it out. I mean, visit the website, check it out. But
you can also find her on LinkedIn. She's very easily, Gretchen Skalka, Skalka.
Yep. But just it's important, and in today's world, taking care of you, we know, hey, put the oxygen mask on you first. But if it's been a while since that oxygen mask has been put on, then maybe visiting careerinsightsconsulting.com is your first move.
Yeah, don't go visit Highway 53 just south of here with a spilling glue all over the place.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
But no.
And try to stay away from submarines. Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, but thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on, Gretchen. You and I have had some wonderful conversations. This was yet another one, and
this hour flew.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I always love talking to you, Bill. It's always a good conversation. Ken, it's really nice to sort of meet you.
You got it.
One day we'll meet face to face, but
that's right.
This was great. I really appreciate you guys having me on. This was fun. I always love this good discussion. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Again, like Ken said, we'll have to get you back on and maybe take a little different path.
That's it.
Yeah.
For all of us here, 21.6 The Net, thanks for getting caught in the net with us and visiting Innovative Strategies with Bill Haase. Until next time, be good, but more importantly, be good to one another.